We are nothing if not segues, because yes, for Brantford Podiatry to kick things off on a Tuesday, that kicks a double entendre as well. Dr. Mark Bradley is with us. It's No Socks Day. Welcome, by the way.
I apologize. I didn't even know that I'm
I
wearing
got my
socks.
on too and sort of thing. But socks, here's a silly question right at the top. Socks, good idea? Does it contribute to foot health?
They certainly reduce friction. They obviously keep us warm. There are places where they definitely have a benefit. And sometimes socks can actually be more problematic. Lots of synthetic material, and they make your feet perspire.
Great point when we talk about socks. You said synthetic material. Mm-hmm. So the best socks, natural fibers?
Yeah, a lot of the higher cotton contents and wool contents. Having said that, some of the new running socks and athletic socks are amazingly good at wicking away moisture, and they feel really supportive as well.
They like the Under Armour for the feet sort of thing, what they're coming up with?
Yeah, all of the major athletic companies have them for various sports, and I got to admit, they really do work. I was a skeptic, and I tried them. They work.
Now, I got you off topic because you're here today because we're smack dab in the middle of Foot Health Month.
Foot Health Month, and I'm ashamed though. I'm still overwhelmed the fact I didn't know that about the socks. Yeah, so it's International Foot Health Month. Basically, across the world, we're trying to raise awareness, basically for foot health on all schemes of things. We talked about diabetes last time I was in. The Ontario Society of Chiropodists are focusing their efforts on promoting foot health awareness for children. It's an area that gets neglected very often. People tend to think that we specialize more with the elderly or with athletes. And
now, when you talk children, what are we talking about? Birth and moving from there?
We try and leave it a little longer than birth, although sometimes with very obvious physical defects, we can intervene at an early stage with serial casting to try and help club feet and diminish that.
We got into with youngsters. I don't even know where we are because my kids are in their 20s. There was a time, put them in those rigid, hard, little white lace-up shoes, and then there was, no, you didn't do that, and then style came in, and you could get, Pumas that are that big for a child. To get them off to the right start, what's the proper footwear?
Good support. When it's necessary. I mean, we talked before about the fact that we've got this very hard, unforgiving surface that we live on nowadays. So as a result, good support is a great idea, and again, we mentioned before about stability in the midfoot, flexible in the ball of the foot. It's actually really hard to find good shoes like that. A lot of the more expensive, dedicated shoes to small children aren't actually that great. So you really do have to search and you do have to evaluate, and price does not guarantee results in that situation.
Well, I'm glad when you said what you said, because when you talked about support, that's what I want to zero in on. Is it the heel? Is it the arch? Is it the toes? And you're saying it's all three.
It is. And again, as soon as you can get a child into lace-up shoes or at least a Velcro shoe, the elasticated shoes are okay, but they don't really give a great deal of support. The temptation, both for adults and children, is in the summer months. As soon as the sun comes out, you have your weather girl there barefoot, but a lot of folks are going in sandals and flip-flops. And much as I'd love that we all lived on the beach, we don't. So it's not appropriate footwear for the hard, flat environments that we live in.
So it's style is getting us in trouble in a lot of cases. And I guess one of the points, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying spend the money. Saving money with a young child could be what's causing all the problems.
Absolutely. And again, the other thing, too, we get parents who have foot problems like yourself, and they'll say to us, should I bring my children in? And we go, no. I mean, it's amazing. You're very good at looking and seeing what's normal and what's not.
Another source of information that told me feet turning in seems to be almost like a major concern, because if people don't notice it, it creates all kinds of other problems. Is that really the case, what you see?
It certainly does create lots of other problems, because obviously your foot's your main shock absorber. When you've lost the potential to shock absorb there, then you're going to have to do it somewhere else in the body. So in dealing with that, we're not treating the rest of the body, but most certainly it has a huge impact on that.
When we're buying shoes, and we're talking about youngsters because it is Foot Health Month, and we're going out and buying shoes, are we missing the fact that, again, trying to save a couple of bucks, we don't deal with width and things like that? Like the shoe, I'm guessing, has to fit wide and long to be effective.
Again, depending on the age of the child, it's tough because they're not the most communicative. Is it long enough? And the child's distracted by wanting to go off and play Angry Birds and things like that. So you've got to kind of get down on the floor there and actually check and feel and prod and poke. And
you may not be old enough, but I am to remember the old device coming out, and buying shoes was always at a shoe store. It wasn't at a convenient mart sort of thing, and you went through that exact sizing. That seems to be what's been lost.
Yeah, some of the stores do it, and in fact, as part of Foot Health Month, I spent Saturday offering a free clinic in New Balance. They're not the be-all and end-all, but they do make an effort, and a lot of the better stores like that do actually have staff that are pretty well trained.
Is it frustrating that you'll see parents go out and spend more time with a pair of skates than they will with the sneakers?
Yeah, and they're quite happy to give in to the shoe that has Dora the Explorer on it or Speedy McNeil.
I've never understood the story. I've heard even the great Wayne Gretzky, he would squeeze his foot into a smaller pair of skates. I can't figure physiologically how that works.
I don't get it, and likewise too with the figure skaters, where they will wear a plastic bag on their foot to allow them frictionless entry into a tight skate, and they come in with horrendous infections, fungal infections, and things like that.
Well, you brought some pictures. We're going to take a look at some stuff here right now as we get it up on the screen. Dr. Mark Bradley's with us. We are looking at...
So there's a very simple example. Again, you can see the foot on the left there, the way the heel is tilting outwards. And I say to patients all the time, of children, parents of children, have a look and you can see symmetrically what looks right and what doesn't.
Are we born this way, or is this a problem that's created?
Well, when we're born, we start out initially with our feet being very, very much inverted. So normally for the first 5 or 6 years of life, typically we will tend to roll in or pronate as a result of that. Right. By the time we get to 5 or 6, we want to see a nice little arch structure form. And again, we certainly shouldn't be seeing the heel tilting out as much as it is on the left-hand side. If that's continuing, that needs to be dealt with.
That person's going to potentially feel foot problems, calf problems, could be knee problems.
Well, a lot of the times it'll be like, mom and dad coming in going like, our son keeps waking up at night crying out in pain because he's got muscle cramps after sports. And again, this nocturnal cramping is quite often a sign that the muscles are working too hard, they're building up lactic acid at night and then going into a cramp. And it's not just growing pains, it's not the fact that they're growing rapidly, it's because they're working way too hard.
So again, what you and I talked about before with me going through plantar fasciitis, when I'm lying there in bed and I'm having trouble getting comfortable and I'm putting no weight on my foot whatsoever, that's the cause?
That's the inflammation. The healing and repairing takes place when you get off your feet. When you're standing on the tissue, there's no room for swelling.
We got another demonstration of what you're talking about on the screen. Here we're looking at.
So the issue again with children is that the bones are growing and developing. You can see in most of those bones, it looks like there's a little crack or a missing piece, and that's called a growth plate.
Right.
And they're a soft, cartilaginous type bone. So if there's abnormal pressure on those, they'll actually change the actual shape and the way the bone's growing. One of the bones, unfortunately, I can't point at it, but fairly back on the foot there on the inside, it's got a nice curved contour to it, and you can see it's actually flattening off on the side. And that's the bone actually adapting to the fact that this foot rolls in excessively when this child's walking. So just like a little pot plant, tomato plant growing on the window ledge is going to grow towards the light. Likewise, the foot will adapt as a result. And here we have a very young child where the complete midfoot has collapsed in. Bone structures collapsed down. And again, with the predisposition now towards obesity in our younger generation, that's a foot that I can't even recover.
So I want to, before we go, and thanks for coming in today, quite simple, don't ignore the complaint.
Don't ignore it. If you're looking at your children especially, and you see something questionable, go and find someone and just present it to them and say, is this normal or is it not?
Wonderful.
And they'll be very honest and say, no, that's normal development.
We'll see you again soon. Happy Health Foot Month. We're coming back just a little bit right here inside Brand.